My friends, human relationships are not built on words alone. They are built on energy, on presence, and on the subtle fabric of dependence that binds two souls together. So often, people reveal only a mask while we stand close to them. They perform, they charm, they behave according to what they believe will maintain the bond. Yet if you wish to see beneath the mask, if you wish to know their true nature, you must have the courage to walk away. For it is in absence, not presence, that truth emerges. It is when your energy is withdrawn that their character stands naked. Do they respect your silence, or do they try to manipulate you back? Do they honor your choice, or do they rage against it? Do they seek reconciliation with humility, or do they expose their entitlement, their anger, their fear? Walking away is not always abandonment. It is the most powerful psychological test of authenticity. Jung taught us that all human beings wear personas, social masks designed to protect the fragile self beneath. When you are near, the persona may be maintained, but when you step back, the shadow is forced to reveal itself. Some will show love, patience, and respect even in distance. Others will show control, resentment, or contempt. Walking away, therefore, becomes not only an act of liberation, but also an act of revelation. True love does not chain itself to your constant presence. It allows you to leave and return freely. Toxic attachment, by contrast, cannot tolerate your autonomy. It will expose its fear through manipulation or rage. The courage to walk away is, then, not merely a social strategy but a path of individuation. It is how you discover the truth of others while also affirming your own worth. When we interact with others, we rarely encounter the entirety of who they are. What we see is their persona, the mask they wear in order to function within society and to maintain relationships. This mask is not inherently evil. It is, in fact, necessary. Without it, social life would collapse into chaos, for we cannot reveal every thought, impulse, or fear to the world. Yet the problem arises when we mistake the mask for the person. We believe that the smile, the kindness, the attentiveness, or even the indifference is the whole truth. In reality, it is but a fragment, carefully selected for the situation at hand. Walking away disrupts this performance. It removes the stage upon which the persona is performed. While you are present, the other person has reason to maintain their mask, because you are watching, because they wish to influence you, because they want to preserve the bond. The moment you withdraw, however, their motives shift. There is no longer an immediate audience for the performance, no direct benefit to maintaining the facade. What remains is closer to the truth of their inner life. Do they think of you with compassion when you are gone, or do they reveal bitterness, resentment, or indifference? Do they respect your absence, or do they curse it? Their reactions, unfiltered by your gaze, reveal more than their polished words ever could. Carl Jung often emphasized that the persona conceals as much as it reveals. It is constructed to protect the ego from exposure and rejection, but beneath it lies the shadow, the repressed desires, fears, and traits that cannot easily be shown. These hidden aspects often emerge when the persona no longer serves a purpose. When you step away from someone's life, you strip away the immediate utility of their mask, and in this stripping, their shadow has the opportunity to emerge. This is why walking away is not merely a physical act, but a psychological test. It creates conditions where the truth can no longer be hidden so easily. Consider, for instance, the person who showers you with warmth and affection while you are close, but turns cold and dismissive the moment you leave. Their persona was one of kindness, but their reaction to your absence reveals their deeper attitude. Perhaps a reliance on control, perhaps an inability to love beyond immediate gratification. Another example may be the friend who remains loyal even when you walk away, who respects your space and still holds you in regard despite distance. In such cases, their true nature is one of respect and care, qualities that extend beyond performance. The act of walking away, then, functions as a mirror. It reflects not only their character but also your own courage. For many people, the fear of discovering the truth keeps them bound in proximity. They fear that if they leave, they will lose affection, attention, or validation. Yet if affection can only be maintained through your constant presence, it is not authentic affection. To walk away is to demand truth over illusion. It is to test whether love, respect, and connection endure when performance ends. Thus, walking away reveals far more than staying ever could. In absence, the persona crumbles, and what emerges, whether love or resentment, is the truest reflection of the soul that stood before you. Absence has a unique power. It exposes the dependencies and insecurities that often remain hidden when two people are physically close. When you are present, others can lean on your energy, your attention, and your validation. These become subtle forms of nourishment, sometimes healthy, sometimes toxic. But when you step away, that supply is cut off. It is in this deprivation that their true state is revealed. Do they collapse without your presence, consumed by anxiety and desperation? Or do they stand firm, able to exist as a whole being without you? Distance unmasks the hidden dynamics of dependence that intimacy often conceals. Carl Jung taught that the psyche is rarely transparent. Much of what motivates human behavior lies beneath consciousness, woven into unconscious patterns of attachment and fear. We may believe that a relationship is built on mutual respect or love, but in truth, it may be built on unspoken dependencies. One partner may rely on the other for constant affirmation of worth, another for distraction from inner emptiness, another for the illusion of control. These needs remain invisible as long as contact is steady. Only through absence does the dependency reveal itself, often in exaggerated reactions, sudden hostility, desperate pursuit, or crippling despair. This is why walking away can feel like such a violent disruption. It is not simply the removal of a person. It is the removal of the crutch the other has unconsciously leaned upon. And when that crutch disappears, the unhealed wounds beneath become visible. For some, this is a moment of crisis, anger, manipulation, or guilt. Tripping arise as attempts to regain what was lost. For others, it may provoke self-reflection, an opportunity to face long, buried insecurities and recognize the depth of their reliance on external validation. Absence is also a mirror for maturity. A person who has developed an integrated self can tolerate the space left by your departure. They may miss you, but they will not crumble. They can honor the distance without resorting to control or desperation. In contrast, one who has not faced their inner void may reveal their neediness, their inability to regulate their own emotions, or their lack of respect for boundaries. In this sense, walking away is not only a revelation of the other, but also a sorting mechanism. It distinguishes those who relate from wholeness from those who relate out of dependency. To see this dynamic clearly requires courage, because it strips away illusions. Many relationships feel stable only because proximity hides the underlying instability. Absence acts as a magnifying glass, showing whether the bond is genuine or merely sustained by dependency. Thus, to walk away is to invite truth into the relationship. It reveals not only how much the other depended on you, but also how much you may have depended on them. For dependency is rarely one-sided. It often binds both souls in a silent contract of mutual insecurity. In the silence of distance, the hidden architecture of attachment is laid bare. What survives is authentic. What crumbles was never truly solid. A person's reaction to your withdrawal speaks more loudly than all the words they offered in your presence. When you remain close, they can manage impressions, keep their tone pleasant, and maintain the facade of harmony. But when you step back, when you remove your energy and attention, the raw truth of their character emerges. Some will meet your absence with patience, respect, and understanding. Others will react with anger, manipulation, or contempt. It is in these moments that the hidden foundation of the relationship is exposed. Carl Jung often emphasized that the unconscious reveals itself in behavior more than in conscious declarations. What people say about their love, loyalty, or respect is often little more than a mask. The unconscious, however, is revealed in what they do when they lose the control of proximity. If someone reacts to your withdrawal with dignity, by giving you space, by trusting your choice, by not collapsing into panic, they reveal a psyche that is grounded and whole. But if someone turns to rage, passive aggression, or guilt, tripping, they reveal an ego fragilely dependent on your presence to maintain its balance. Withdrawal, therefore, is a psychological test. When you leave, you are no longer providing the constant stream of affirmation, validation, or control that sustained the other person. Their true relationship to you and to themselves emerges. Some people reveal love, love that does not demand constant feeding, love that can withstand distance. Others reveal possession, the belief that you exist only to fulfill their needs. These responses show whether they see you as a human being with your own freedom, or merely as an object of utility within their psychic economy. This truth is often difficult to face. We want to believe in the goodness of those we are close to. We want to believe their affection is real, that their respect is genuine, but it is only when we remove ourselves that we see whether that belief is well-founded. A person who loves authentically will not punish you for stepping away. They will respect your autonomy. A person whose affection was conditional, however, will react with hostility because your withdrawal disrupts the fantasy of control upon which the relationship was built. Jung wrote that projection is one of the primary ways the unconscious reveals itself. When you withdraw, others may suddenly project onto you their deepest fears, accusing you of betrayal, abandonment, or selfishness. These accusations are rarely about you. They are about the unresolved wounds within them. By walking away, you inadvertently trigger the confrontation between their persona and their shadow. Their reaction is the truth of their inner life laid bare. Thus, if you wish to know who someone truly is, do not listen only to their words spoken in your presence. Watch what happens when you leave, for in your absence the performance ends, and the psyche, no longer restrained by the need to impress, reveals itself in its rawest form. What emerges, patience or rage, respect or contempt, is the truest testimony of their nature. Illusions are powerful because they comfort us. They allow us to believe that what we see in another person is the entirety of who they are, that the mask they wear is their real face. Proximity sustains these illusions. As long as you are near, the performance can continue. Smiles are maintained, roles are played, and unspoken tensions are concealed beneath gestures of politeness or affection. But when you walk away, the stage collapses. The mask no longer serves a purpose, and the hidden reality, what Jung would call the shadow, begins to reveal itself. Every human being carries both light and darkness within. The persona is the carefully chosen light, the self we display to the world to gain acceptance. The shadow, on the other hand, is what we repress: envy, fear, resentment, or vulnerability. Walking away has the uncanny power to bring this shadow to the surface. Why? Because your absence disrupts the other person's equilibrium. Without you there to validate, comfort, or reinforce their self-image, the shadow pushes forward. The anger they never showed, the dependency they never admitted, the bitterness they kept hidden, all of it emerges when the mask no longer needs to be worn. This is why walking away feels like an unveiling. It is not only about the distance itself, but about what distance forces to the surface. The one who seemed endlessly kind may, in your absence, reveal hostility through gossip, contempt, or indifference. The one who appeared strong may unravel, unable to regulate themselves without your constant presence. The one who projected confidence may expose their deep insecurity through desperate attempts to pull you back. Each reaction shows a piece of the shadow that the persona once concealed. Jung suggested that confronting the shadow is essential for wholeness, but most people resist it fiercely. They prefer to live within illusions, both about themselves and about others. This is why relationships so often stagnate. because both parties collude in maintaining appearances rather than daring to see the truth. By walking away, you refuse to participate in that collusion. You break the illusion. In doing so, you force both yourself and the other to confront what lies beneath. It is important to note, however, that walking away is not an act of cruelty, but an act of clarity. It does not create the shadow, it merely reveals it. The anger, the insecurity, the dependency were already there. Your absence only removes the disguise. In this sense, walking away is not a betrayal but a form of truth. Telling, it unmasks what was hidden, whether that truth is painful or liberating. The gift of this revelation is that it prevents you from confusing the mask for reality. You no longer cling to illusions of endless harmony or unconditional affection if those qualities collapse in distance. Instead, you see what was real all along. Walking away breaks the spell of appearances and allows the truth, light or dark, to stand before you, unfiltered and undeniable. When you choose to walk away, you are not only testing the other person, you are testing the strength of the bond itself. True relationships, whether friendships, family ties, or romantic connections, do not rely on constant presence to survive. They possess a resilience that allows them to endure distance, absence, even silence. If the connection is real, it will not dissolve simply because you step back. Instead, it will adapt, perhaps shifting in form, but remaining rooted in mutual respect and genuine care. Carl Jung often reminded us that what is authentic does not fear separation. A bond grounded in truth carries within it a kind of psychic elasticity. It bends but does not break. In contrast, relationships built on illusion or dependency collapse the moment distance is introduced. The reason is simple. Illusions require constant maintenance. They must be fed by your presence, your attention, your willingness to believe. Once you withdraw that energy, the illusion cannot sustain itself, and the relationship built upon it evaporates. This is why walking away is such a profound measure of authenticity. It reveals whether the bond between you and another is tethered to the soul or merely to circumstance. If a person can respect your absence, continue to hold you in their heart without demanding your constant validation, then the connection has roots deeper than surface-level dependency. But if they respond with anger, manipulation, or abandonment, it shows that what you thought was love was really attachment to what you provided, not to who you are. Consider two different responses. In the first, a friend respects your need for space. They do not chase, accuse, or collapse. They trust that the bond is strong enough to endure. In the second, another friend reacts with hostility, calling you selfish, attempting to guilt you back into closeness. The first reveals an authentic bond, one based on mutual freedom and respect. The second reveals an illusory bond, sustained not by love but by control. Only through stepping back could this truth become clear. Authenticity in relationships is rare because it requires two people who can stand as whole individuals, not fragments seeking completion through the other. Jung would say that authentic bonds are only possible when two selves have integrated enough of their own shadows that they do not need to project them entirely onto others. Walking away functions as a test of this integration. If the relationship survives absence, it is because both parties are strong enough within themselves not to collapse when distance arises. Thus, walking away is less about leaving and more about revealing. It allows you to see what remains once performance, illusion, and dependency are stripped away. If the bond is authentic, absence will not destroy it. It will, in fact, strengthen it. If the bond is false, absence will dissolve it, exposing that it was never as real as you hoped. In this way, walking away protects you from clinging to illusions and guides you toward relationships that are rooted in truth. Walking away is not only a revelation of others, but also a profound mirror for the self. The act of withdrawal forces you to confront your own attachments, illusions, and fears. So often, we remain entangled in unhealthy dynamics, not because of what the other gives us, but because of what we are afraid to lose. We confuse dependency with love, familiarity with connection, and fear of solitude with loyalty. By stepping back, you give yourself the opportunity to see how much of your presence in the relationship was born from genuine care, and how much from unconscious need. Carl Jung emphasized that what we project onto others is often what we refuse to see within ourselves. Walking away unmasks these projections. Perhaps you believed someone was your source of stability, only to realize in absence that it was your own inner instability projected onto them. Perhaps you thought you were indispensable, but their survival without you reveals how much your self-worth was tied to being needed. These realizations are uncomfortable, but they are necessary if one is to grow beyond dependency and illusion. When you step away, you face the silence that arises. That silence asks questions. Why was I so afraid to leave? What do I fear will happen if I am no longer present? What parts of myself have I hidden behind this relationship? In this way, absence is not only a test of the other, but an initiation into deeper self-awareness. The fears and anxieties you feel when you walk away are not punishments. They are signals pointing toward the wounds and insecurities that remain unresolved within you. Many people avoid this confrontation by staying entangled in relationships long after they have ceased to be nourishing. They prefer the comfort of illusion to the pain of self-discovery. But Jung would insist that individuation, the process of becoming a whole self, requires courage to face such discomfort. Walking away becomes a symbolic act of individuation. You withdraw your projections from the other and turn them inward, where they can be integrated and healed. It is also worth noting that walking away reveals not only your hidden fears, but also your hidden strength. You may discover resilience you did not know you had, the ability to exist without constant reassurance, the ability to endure solitude without collapsing, the ability to define yourself without someone else's gaze. These strengths, once uncovered, become the foundation of a more authentic self, one capable of engaging in relationships without losing autonomy. Thus, the act of leaving is never only about the other. It is a profound encounter with yourself. In the space that opens after departure, you meet both your shadows and your potential. You discover what fears controlled you, what illusions bound you, and what inner power lies dormant within. Walking away strips away the false layers and compels you to see who you truly are when no one else is there to define you. Walking away is not merely an act of separation. It is a boundary drawn with quiet strength. Boundaries in the Jungian sense are not walls meant to isolate us from others, but lines of clarity that protect the integrity of the self. When you step back from a relationship or situation, you are saying, "This is where I end and where you begin. This is the space where I choose to honor my own being." Toxic dynamics cannot survive in the presence of such boundaries because they rely on enmeshment, confusion, and the erasure of individuality. For many, the fear of setting boundaries arises from the illusion that love means self-sacrifice without limit, that loyalty means tolerating disrespect, and that kindness means endlessly accommodating the demands of others. But this confusion breeds resentment, dependency, and ultimately, self-betrayal. Walking away becomes the most honest expression of self-respect, for it communicates without aggression. I will not participate in a relationship that erodes who I am. Jung recognized that individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires the courage to withdraw from what is false and align with what is true. Boundaries are not rigid defenses against intimacy. They are the conditions that make intimacy possible. Without them, there is only fusion, and fusion always leads to the loss of self. By walking away when a boundary is violated, you affirm that your soul is not a commodity to be consumed by another's insecurity or control. Those who are toxic, manipulative, or dependent on your compliance often despise boundaries. When you establish them, you break the unconscious contract that allowed them to feed off your energy. This is why walking away is met with anger, guilt, tripping, or accusations. Yet these reactions are not signs that you have done wrong, they are proof that you have exposed the underlying dynamic, you have illuminated what was hidden, and in doing so, you reclaim the power that was once dispersed in unhealthy entanglement. Boundaries also have a deeper spiritual significance. They are the affirmation that the self is sacred, that one's inner life is not to be violated by the chaos of others. Walking away is thus an act of alignment with the self, the higher, guiding center Jung described. When you respect your boundaries, you become less vulnerable to the manipulation of others because you no longer seek validation at the cost of your soul. You begin to move in the world with a quiet dignity that toxic people cannot penetrate. Ultimately, walking away and setting boundaries are not about rejecting others, but about affirming yourself. They are acts of love for the truth of who you are. And in this affirmation, you create space only for relationships that honor reciprocity, respect, and authenticity. What cannot survive your boundaries was never meant to stay. What remains after you walk away is what was real all along.